Hey Chaotic Crew, Brian here. I've got another Tarkir Dragonstorm commander deck for you. Last week we took the alternate Abzan precon commander, since we took that out of our precon upgrade. This time we did take Eshki out of our Temur precon upgrade, so let's go ahead and make a deck around her. She's 3 mana, 2/2 legendary human warrior. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you get a 1/1 counter on Eshki. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, you draw a card. If that spell's power is 6 or greater, Eshki deals damage equal to Eshki's power to each opponent. So really strong card here. If you love big stompy decks, this is an amazing commander for you. I'm definitely that kind of commander, so I've been really excited to build around Eshki. And so there's different ways you could go around it, right? You could go artifacts or Eldrazi even as sort of a unique take on this deck to kind of storm off and just continue to draw cards. I didn't quite go that way. I just went, big stuff, Temur big stuff. But you're still going to be able to cast a ton of spells with Eshki, draw cards, refill your hand, cast more spells. So let's just get right into the deck. Now, we do have 37 creatures, which is, is a lot. We have a ton of creatures, and all of that is for good reason. We're going to go through each one because this is a creature deck first. Animar is a really good all-star here. Pretty much, it's a 1/1, but it gets +1/+1 counters when you cast creature spells, and then creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each 1/1 counter on Animar. So if you're going the colorless Eldrazi or the artifact route, you will want to have Animar in there as well. A Rix with these is a great ramp that also triggers all 3 modes of your commander, right? It'll enter tapped, unfortunately, but when you cast it, well, on the stack, it's still a creature, so good to have that there. Birds of Paradise, fantastic ramp. Delighted Halfling on the top, also great ramp. These 3 creatures, Brynolin is amazing. It's a 6/8, so it triggers your commander, and when it enters, or whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost 6 or greater, you may return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So this is kind of some of the targeted removal we have in here. It's temporary removal, but setting your opponents back and you getting so much value off of casting massive spells is really great here. Cavern Horde Dragon's amazing. When it deals damage, you create a treasure token for each artifact that player controls. It's a 6/6, so it triggers your commander, but it can cost a lot less if you're playing against an artifact deck. Chandra's Incinerator is fantastic here as well. Our commander is going to be burning our opponents out, and it costs X less to cast, where X is the total amount of non-combat damage dealt to your opponents this turn. So as long as you have cast 1 spell that triggers your commander, whether your commander has any counters on it or not, as long as you have 2 opponents, Chandra's Incinerator will just cost a red. It also has Trample, and whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target creature or planeswalker that player controls. So this is turning our commander's player damage into creature removal, so very strong there. Dreamtide Whale, fantastic card, 3 mana, going to proc our commander, and it's going to proliferate our commander's counters, so nice to have. Atali Primal Conqueror, not only does it trigger our commander, but it's going to cast 4 extra spells, potentially, and so you have a lot of chance to proc your commander multiple times with this. Fanatic of Ronus is really good. This deck is all about having massive power, and the quicker we can get to some of these bigger creatures, the better off we're going to be. Ghalta Primal Hunger is really good as well. It's typically going to be 2 mana in this deck, and you're going to get all your commander's triggers. Goblin Necromancer is not going to make your commander cost less unless it's in the command zone, but it's going to make everything else cost 1 less, and that's, when you're trying to cast as many spells in a turn as possible, that's the best thing right there. Goreclaw is really great. It is just going to make all your stuff cost 2 less, and you can tell a lot of these cards that are cheapening the cost for these these creatures is just doing a lot of work here. Gwen is amazing mana dork here. Tap to add 2 mana of any combination, only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of a creature card, but whenever you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, you will put a 1/1 counter on Gwenna and you untap it. So really, if you're wanting to go infinite in this deck, Gwenna is a must-have in the deck. You're going to be tapping Gwenna for 2 mana, casting a spell, untapping Gwenna, right? Especially if you have multiple things that are discounting your creatures. You're going to be drawing a card with your commander, maybe another card if you have another enchantment or something on the field. So you're doing a lot of work with Gwyna on the battlefield. One of the all-stars of the deck for sure. Hammerhead Tyrant, a new card from the commander deck, 6/6, so it procs your commander. And then whenever you cast a spell, return to one target non-land permanent and opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to that spell's mana value to its owner's hand. So similar to Brynelin, or Brynelin, however you want to pronounce that. These are both going to be, temporary removal, right? But very strong in this deck nevertheless. Ilharg the Razeboar is, 5 mana 6/6 and can just put a creature on the battlefield, tapped and attacking when it enters. We've got a lot of enter the battlefield triggers in this deck, so this is helpful here. Elysian Caryatid just gonna be ramping us. 2 mana for 1 mana dork is pretty good for 2 mana, so really strong there. Kogla the Titan Ape. When it enters, it fights up to 1 target creature, so it's creature removal, and then when it attacks, destroy an artifact or enchantment defending player controls. So it just gets rid of artifact and enchantments as well, and it procs your commander. So, all 3 worlds. You can also return your Eshki to your hand, and it gains indestructible. So if you want to save your commander, you can also do that. So really just a great card here. Maelstrom Wanderer is a procs your commander, 8 mana, has Cascade. So you're lucky. You're probably going to get stuff out of your commander. More triggers, right, as well. Osier Kazlim, Deepest Growth is really good. When it deals combat damage to a player, reveal that many cards on the top of your library. You might put a creature card and or a land card from among them on the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. And then when it dies, it flips over, and it's just a green land that you can pay 3 mana and tap this to transform it if you control 10 or more permanents, and only as a sorcery. So it's nice. It's just a 5 mana 6/5 really in the deck, so you could take this out and put something else in, but I like this card a lot. Outcaster Trailblazer is neat. It is a 3 mana 4/2, but what's great is you can sort of plot this card, and then you can cast your commander the turn after, cast this, and drawing a card, right? And you can also add a mana of any color when you do this, so if you need to color fix, it can do that as well. But yeah, it's just essentially going to be making it, you draw more cards, right? Having an extra of your commander that does that kind of ability is really helpful. Pugnacious Hammerskull is just a 3 mana 6/6, and it can attack. We do have some other dinosaurs in here, so it's not always going to have a stun counter on it, but just a good blocker. Roaming Throne, it's going to proc our commander at least the draw effect, and then it's going to start doubling our commander's procs, which is going to get really dangerous if we cast a bunch of 6 mana spells, so something to keep an eye on there. Rurik Thard, the Unbowed, is a really great card because it's going to stop us from casting non-creature spells, which isn't ideal, but it's going to make it really tough for our opponents, right? We're going to be dealing damage. We're burning our opponents out, right? So they typically are going to have less life total than us anyways. So having this out is really going to put pressure on them to do stuff. Sakura Tribe Elder is another, getting a land out from our deck. Selvala Heart of the Wilds. We're typically going to have the highest power, so going to be able to tap for lots of mana and going to draw some cards for us. Silverback Elder is good. It's not going to do everything we want our commander to do, but it is life gain, it is destroying artifacts and enchantments, and it's also potentially getting lands on the battlefield. So doing a lot of things just to be, a 5 mana 5/7, so very strong there. Sureka Gorklaw is a 6/5 for 6, gives other creatures trample, has trample itself, and whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on it, it gains haste. So being able to give our creatures haste and having a creature that does that is really helpful. Surek Dragonclaw is going to make it so our creatures can't be countered and other creatures have trample, so really strong there. Temur Battlecrier, another one of these effects that really, during our turn, spells that we cast cost 1 less for each creature with power 4 or greater. So we're going to be able to, cast spells for way cheaper than we were before with this on the battlefield. The Foretold Soldier is really great here. Must be blocked if able, can be blocked by more than 1 creature, and whenever it deals damage, exile it face down and becomes Foretold. So this is something that you can, potentially cast twice a turn if you can give it haste, right? You cast it, not every turn, right? But then you attack with it, it's Foretold, and then it's whenever it deals any damage. So not like when it deals combat damage or whatever. And then you can cast it again. So you can get multiple procs off this with your commander, which is always helpful. Titan of Industry, destroying artifact or enchantment, making a rhino, gaining life, putting a shield counter on something is nice too, right? Protecting your commander is always helpful. Trumpeting Carnosaur, just when it enters, you discover 5. Always great to have. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. When it enters, you gain 3 life, draw a card, then you put in a land from your hand on the battlefield. you can escape it from your graveyard. So just a great card to have. It's a 3-mana 6/6, so it's going to proc your commander. Very strong. Vaultborn Tyrant is great too. It's going to also gain you lots of life, draw you lots of cards. You may deck yourself out with this deck. But if you're at that point, you're probably winning the game already. So something to keep in mind there. Wayward Swordtooth, though, helps you play extra lands. It's a 3-mana 5/5, so it's at least going to draw you card when it enters with your commander. And then Xenagos is a creature on the stack, so we'll proc all your commander's things, and then it's going to, double something up. So very strong there. We're running 6 sorceries. Most of it's ramp, right? Farseek, Nature's Lore, Ramp of Growth, 3 visits. We've got Anzrag's Rampage. We're already dealing with a lot of artifact and enchantment removal in this deck, but it's never too bad to have a lot with 37 creatures. Always a good idea to have Anzrag's Rampage in the back burner. And then Selvala Stampede is a fantastic card as well to bring in the deck. As far as instants, we're drawing lots of cards, so we do have 5 counter-like spells. We got Offer You Can't Refuse, Arcane Denial, Stubborn Denial, Negate, and Sink into Stupor. Sink into Stupor can also return a non-land permanent to another's hand, but it's also a land, so that's always good there. Beast Within, Chaos Warp is really good. Collective Resistance can destroy artifact or enchantment, but it can also make our creatures hexproof and indestructible. And then if we get something in our graveyard, we can Noxious Revival it back on top of our library at an instant speed, to get it off of our commander's trigger or whatever. Always nice to have. And then the Great Henge helps draw us cards, gain life, and buffing our creatures. And then the Herd Heirloom is a good mana rock, but it can also, give something trample like our commander. And then when it deals combat damage, we'll draw a card. As far as enchantments, we've got a decent amount. 10 enchantments is quite a bit. Wild Growth Utopia Sprawl for ramp. And then we have Temur Ascendancy, Garruk's Uprising. When creatures enter with power 4 or greater, we're going to draw. Temur Ascendancy gives haste. Garruk's Uprising gives him trample. Rhythm of the Wild gives him a counter or haste. I think as we get more cards that give haste, Rhythm of the Wild kind of gets less and less good, but still solid here. Frostcliff Siege is good because if you needed to give trample and haste, you can do that. But if you already have a couple things giving haste, you can do the other ability and have it just do the other one when one or more creatures deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Card draw is always great. We're also running a few interesting cards. We got Kozilek's Unsealing. When you cast a creature spell with mana value 4, 5, or 6, you make 2 0/1 colorless Eldrazi Spawn creature tokens, and you can sack those tokens to add colorless mana. Then when you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, draw 3 cards. Which is really great. And so this is a way to sort of help us, storm off a little bit, right? When we're casting these spells, we're getting, these Eldrazi spawns. They help pay for the spell. Pretty solid there. And then if you have Gwenna, you can really go off. Sarkhan's Unsealing is very similar. When you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, it deals 4 damage to any target. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 7 or greater, Sarkhan's Unsealing does 4 damage to each opponent, each creature, planeswalker they control. We don't have a ton of creatures with mana value 7 or greater, but we've got a handful, and when you get those, this essentially acts as like a mini board wipe, so good to have those here. Shadow in the Warp also, last but not least, in the enchantment category, and first creature spell you cast costs 2 less to cast. When an opponent casts their first non-creature spell, it deals 2 damage to that player. So doing a lot of what our commander wants as well. As far as lands, there's nothing crazy. We are running Plaza of Heroes, Fabled Passage, the Triome, the Mistrise Village is good to have here as well. Pretty normal. We're running the Stomping Grounds, Steam Vents, and the Breeding Pool. Castle Garenbrig and Keswick Wolfrun is sort of the other non-basics there. Let's go ahead and playtest, see how this deck does in the wild, but drawing no lands is not going to help. Okay, first mulligan, 3 lands, so we'll keep it. No blue mana, so not ideal, but we will keep on trucking. All right, let's go ahead and draw for turn, drew a mountain. Let's go ahead and play this tapped. Turn 2. Okay, we get Elysian Carotid. That's really great. We can play this untapped because this is a forest. Cast this.